What's going on, everyone? This is Lucas Ross Sports, and Lucas Ross, your commentator here, and we continue our 2022 college football predictions. The Illinois Fighting Illinois are up next, and we will give an official prediction on this team, give you our thoughts on this team, and also go game-by-game prediction and look at the schedule, and we will go from there. But before we do that, let's look back at 2021 for this Illinois team. In 2021, Illinois went 5-7. Really good season for them last year, but they didn't get to a bowl game. Something to build on this year in 2022, but the offense and defense has a lot of question marks coming into this year because Illinois does lose quite a bit on both sides of the ball. But before we go into the production percentage, let's look back at the 2021 stats and the rankings. They were the 116th offense in the country last year. Not a really good offense last year. The defense was really good, though. Top 30 defense. How about that? Illinois with a really good defense last year in the top 30 defenses in the country. This team has a really good opportunity to build on that, but both sides of the ball just lose quite a bit. And you see the points per game last year, 20.2 points a game last year on the offensive side of the ball. You see the defense gave up 21.9 points a game last year. Not a really bad defense last year. The offense just has a lot of questions as well, and defense has a lot of questions. And you see the production percentage, only 51% coming back, which is not really good, to be honest. You need to be in the 60% category if you want a really good offense. But there's just a lot of questions surrounding this Illinois team. They're going to be really young on both sides of the ball, but we'll see how it goes. And here's the schedule for 2022 for Illinois, and you see that opening game against Wyoming on August 27th. The non-conference schedule is tough for Illinois. Only one easy game out of that non-conference. Wyoming is a game that you do not want to sleep on. This is going to be an interesting game. Wyoming does not return a lot. They're about the same production percentage as Illinois, but for this game right here, this one is a tough one to call in the first, game of the year. It's going to be really tough for Illinois to get a win, but, with this one being at home, I just had to go with Illinois because they're a Power 5 team, and that's why I'm predicting them to win this game, but it's not going to be an easy game. It's a losable game for Illinois to start out the year. You don't want to sleep on this Wyoming game right here. It's going to be a really tough one, to win this game at home to start out the year. It's not going to be an easy game. It's a non-conference game, but just not going to be an easy game. And there's that game against Indiana on the road on September 2nd. This game is on a Friday night. This one is their first Big Ten matchup, and it's a Big Ten East opponent. Indiana was a bad team last year. They didn't really have their best year. Indiana does return a lot. Half of their starters back on offense this year. Indiana should be better, but question is, what's their defense going to look like? But, this game might go back and forth. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. I think Illinois will hang in there with the entire game. At the end of the day, though, the production percentage is there for Indiana, and I think Indiana will win this game. Not by a blowout. I think it's going to be really close, not by a blowout. Maybe a 2-touchdown game, and probably a 1-touchdown game as well. You never want to sleep on these games as well. Every game is going to be tough. But for Illinois, that game on the road is going to be tough there. Indiana, though, I think is going to win at the end of the day. It just goes to show you why I predict be productive on these predictions is because of the production coming back and also the production they lose. So that's why I pick Indiana to win, because they have the production percentage advantage. So that's why I picked them to win this game. And also, the next game is against Virginia on September 10th. This one is a really interesting matchup. Last year Virginia beat Illinois by a blowout. Virginia was a great team last year, but they're going to be really young this year as well. So, both teams are really young going into this game. Virginia does lose a lot on defense this year. They're going to be really young on defense, a little bit young on the offense, but their offense should be better than Illinois in this game. But I think Illinois' defense will step up in this one and maybe pick up the win. But this one is going to be a really close game. It's going to go back and forth. Maybe a shootout. Maybe both teams will score 30-something points in this one. End of the day, though, with this one being at home and the production percentage, I give it to Illinois, and I pick them to win this game. So I think Illinois will win against Virginia at home. Not going to be an easy game, though. Illinois does get a bye week, and I got them taking care of business against Chattanooga on September 22nd. Then they get to the month of October, kicking off on the road at Wisconsin. This one is a really tricky matchup here for Illinois. It's going to be really interesting to see what Wisconsin looks like. They didn't really have a good season last year. Wisconsin was up and down. You know, Wisconsin's going to be really young on defense this year, and also the offense has a lot of question marks. But this one being on the road and the production percentage ahead for Wisconsin, I got to go with the Badgers to win this one because I think the production is there for Wisconsin. I just think they're a quality and better team than Illinois. It was a really close game last year, but for Wisconsin, it wasn't really close actually last year. It was a shutout win, and I think Wisconsin will win. I think they will win this game. Not saying by a blowout, but maybe just, you know, a 2-touchdown game. Illinois will compete, but I just think Wisconsin, with it being on the road, it's going to be a tough one to win. And then there's that game against Iowa on October the 8th. This one is a really tricky matchup. Iowa does return a lot this year on offense. They almost have everybody coming back on offense. Defense has a little bit of question marks, but they should be really good like they were last year. Iowa's, you know, this one, I know this one is at home for Illinois, but Iowa is going to be a really good team this year. Their offense is not going to be explosive, but they're going to be really that close to it, maybe a top 10 offense in the country. And I think Iowa will win this one. I just don't think it's going to be a blowout, but, you know, Iowa will win this game. Illinois might get close a little bit in the first minutes, but Iowa just, you know, their offense will be really good, and I think it's going to win this game as well. The production percentage is really good for Iowa as well. So, I mean, just Iowa's going to be really good on offense. Just don't sleep on that game as well. And then there's that game against Minnesota at home. This is a winnable game here for Illinois, but Minnesota does return half of their starters back on offense this year. They're going to have a really good offense as well. It might be a top 25 offense as well for them, but Minnesota has a really, you know, young defense this year, but they should be loaded on offense this year as well. So that, you know, I had to go back and forth on this game a little bit, but first half I think Illinois will compete. Second half I think it's all Minnesota, and I think Minnesota will win this game. You know, it's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be really one of those games that Illinois gets blown out, but it will be a game that maybe Illinois can win, but just the schedule this year for Illinois is really tough. It's a really tough schedule, tough stretch down the, you know, on the calendar as well. And then there's that game against Nebraska on the road. They get a bye week before playing this game. Nebraska is a team to look out for. A lot of people are high on Nebraska this year, just of the games that they had last year and the close losses they had. The question is, what will Nebraska look like? They're going to be young as well. You know, both of these teams are going to be young. We saw Illinois defeat Nebraska last year. It's going to be a really close game again this year. I see it going either way, like maybe, you know, back and forth on defense as well. I think with the production percentage, though, I give it to Nebraska, and that's why I picked Nebraska to win this game. But Illinois will hang in there the entire game. It's a 50-50 matchup. It can go either way. The question is, will it be an offensive game or a defensive battle? That is the question that everybody wants to hear. But I think it's going to be a really good game to watch. And I think Illinois, though, they will come up short against Nebraska. Really tough game there to predict, but I think Nebraska, with the production they have coming back, I think they have a shot to win. Next game is against Michigan State at home. This is a game that, you know, Illinois can somewhat compete in. Michigan State does return a lot on defense this year. Not a whole lot, but, you know, a little bit half and half there for this team. But Michigan State should be another surprise contender in the East once again like they were last year. But Illinois, I think, you know, will compete in the first quarter a little bit, but then at the end of the day, Michigan State just has the production percentage coming back for them, and I think it's a win there, or a loss there for Illinois. But, you know, this schedule is just tough for Illinois to go through, and then there's that game against Purdue on November the 12th. It's their final home game. Purdue was a great team last year. They do lose quite a lot on offense this year. And then also the defense, though. They have half of their defense coming back. You know, it's going to be really interesting to see what the defense looks like for Purdue. And that's why I give the production percentage to Purdue in this game. And I think it's going to be another loss for Illinois. This schedule just really gets tougher and tougher for Illinois down the stretch when they play Big Ten opponents. So they're winless in the Big Ten right now, and it's going to be just a really tough year, I think, for Illinois. And then there's those two final road games against Michigan and then Northwestern. Let's start with Michigan first. Michigan was a team last year that just really surprised everybody when they made the college football playoff. 43%, though, only returning on defense this year. Illinois could really compete in this game, but with it being on the road, I just don't see Illinois really competing. I think Michigan's defense will be better by this time, but I think, it's maybe a first quarter, sluggish there for Michigan. At the end of the day, though, it's on the road, and I think Illinois will not really compete in the rest of this game. But Michigan just, it's a tough place to play, and it's really down there at the end of the season. And then there's that final game against Northwestern. Remember, Illinois beat Northwestern last year by a big margin. It wasn't really that close. Northwestern wasn't really that good last year either, but Northwestern could be better than people might say. They do return, even percentage numbers there on their side of the ball. The production percentage just goes to Northwestern, but this will be a close game. I'm seeing it being a really close game for both of these teams, but at the end of the day, it's Northwestern on the road, and I think the production percentage is there for them. So the final prediction for the Illinois Fighting Illinois comes out to 3-9. It's not a good year for them. I think it's just a tougher schedule for Illinois because you got Wyoming to kick off the year and then Indiana on the road. Those are two tough games to kick off against. And then you got Virginia. That's a losable game. You don't want to sleep on that game. There are some winnable games. I think Indiana's a winnable game as well. Maybe a little bit. I see Nebraska being a winnable game, but the rest of the part of the schedule, I don't really see it being, winnable games for Illinois. This schedule is just tough. It's going to be hard to win a game in the Big Ten this year. I think they'll go winless in the Big Ten. But this is how I predicted Illinois in this one. Give me your thoughts on this team down in the comments below. What do you guys think? We will continue to do more football predictions this week, throughout the week as well. And stay tuned here for more on Lucas Ross Sports.